And yet, in Mississippi, despite the decades of "our system is wonderful" propaganda, 62% of the Democratic primary voters in 2020 told pollsters that they wanted Medicare for all. In Mississippi, a state so conservative that some Democratic candidates don't even campaign there. Great. That means they voted for the presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, who's the champion of Medicare for all, right? Nope, because these voters were coded with another program from the mainstream media. Don't elect progressives. They'll lose. So 81% of Mississippi voters voted for Joe Biden, who hates Medicare for all. These people voted against their own avowed self-interest because CNN and the New York Times programmed them to. That actually happened. This book is about breaking down the myths of the right wing, the political elite in both parties, and the establishment media. It will show you how they lied to you, how they installed junk software you need to get out of your head. Myths like the media have a liberal bias. Hilarious. I'll show you how that's not remotely true. Or how about America is a center-right country? Another preposterous lie that's painfully easy to debunk if you just look up the facts, as we'll see in Chapter 1. Then why do people hold these ridiculous ideas in their heads and remain convinced of them? Because the media and politicians put the myths there and repeated them enough times that they became an operating system running in the back of your head that you aren't even aware of. In fact, big corporations, which basically own the media and both political parties, are often the ones writing the code for these programs. The Democrats are bought, and the Republicans even more so. They don't represent us, they represent their donors. We have taxation without representation, just as we did before the American Revolution. Here, let's take an example. On the day I began writing this book, Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee stood up in Congress and said something stupid. Now, that might seem unsurprising, but what he said was stupid even for him, which is saying a lot. Lee stood on the Senate floor to comment on the Green New Deal, a phrase and concept popularized by the most establishment pundit in America, the New York Times' Thomas L. Friedman. Later, it was adopted by Justice Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and became controversial by definition because it was then perceived as a progressive idea. The myth-making factory decided it would cost a couple of corporations a couple of bucks, and hence needed to be destroyed. But at its core, it's an uncontroversial position backed by 99% of the world's scientists and an overwhelming majority of the American people. The Green New Deal is a plan to address the existential threat climate change poses to the world. Lee and other right-wing nutjobs act as if there's no danger and all of the world's scientists are wrong. Yes, Mike Lee has it figured out better than all the scientists. That's likely. Back on planet Earth, temperature readings are not complicated. Anyone can read them, and they are as crystal clear as the polar caps that are melting. The average global temperature has been rising steadily for the past 40 years. Not by a little, but by levels that threaten our existence on this planet. But the same Republican Party that wasn't sure whether doctors were right about vaccines during COVID-19 insists that they know better than the world's scientists. The Green New Deal calls for public investments in things like electric cars and high-speed rail systems, the rebuilding of our crumbling infrastructure, the reduction of pollution, and the eventual elimination of greenhouse gas emissions. It pushes the country to restructure its economy towards sustainability, equality, and justice. It wouldn't just save the planet, it would create millions of jobs and potentially save the economy too. It would help ensure a planet that is prosperous for future generations. It's a win-win-win. Unless you're a billionaire who profits from fossil fuels, in which case you'll probably lose some money in the short run. You'll never guess who these billionaires give campaign contributions to. One of them is, and I hope you're sitting, Mike Lee. Another is Joe Manchin. Politicians of both political parties